The professor is not in the mint. You're damn right the professor is not in the mint. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment, and it's time for episode 6, Money Heist Korea. This is your review. Technically, it's like the mid-season finale, so I'm assuming this is like one season. There's 12 episodes. However, the episodes were split into two parts. We had 6 episodes released back in, I believe, June, and then the latter 6 didn't get released until December. So you had a decent period between episodes, and it did leave with a cliffhanger at the end of this one. So you're sitting watching it, you see the cliffhanger at the end, you want to watch episode 7, but then you're told, no, you're going to have to wait almost 7 months to watch episode 7, which is a bit of a bummer. But you know what? It can also be good because I feel like Netflix shows, and we will talk about the show in a minute, we will get into the review in just a second, but I do feel like with Netflix shows, like, the fact you can binge watch them is great. I'm not denying that, right? If you get a good show, you watch episode 1, episode 2 is available, you're like, God damn it, this is great. You watch episode 2, you watch episode 3, and if you have no life like me, then maybe you can watch a full show in the space of a day or two, right? That can happen. But it's also a little bit annoying because you can just watch it. You can burn through content so quickly. So even if you find, let's say you find like 3 or 4 shows that you really like, you can easily watch them in a week. Whereas with shows that are on TV, with shows that are released on a weekly basis and like have a network deal, you know, you watch the episode on a Monday and then you have to wait another full week to get the next episode. It gives you a week to digest it, gives you a week to make content if you're into YouTube or whatever, or a week to talk to your friends, or a week to discuss what happened, you know, a week to just take everything in. Whereas with these Netflix series, you don't really get that. Like I said, there's positives, the fact you can just watch it all, and that's great, it is. But at the same time, I kind of do wish some of these shows, you know, were released on a weekly basis. Because let's say this, for example, even if they just released the 12 episodes in one bulk, so it wasn't like, you know, you have to wait 6 months between part 1 and part 2, they could have released these 12 episodes over the period of 3 months. So you get one every week, and then you've got 3 months of Money Heist Korea, and that also, I think, would have been equally as great. So it is good to get all the episodes if you want to binge watch them, but at the same time, I do miss just burning through it, and then you've got nothing left to watch. It does kind of suck. But anyway, I feel like I'm going to start every little video with a rant, but we've got that. It wasn't even a rant, it was just an observation, really. But we've got that over with. So let's get into episode 6. We start off with a flashback, as always. So that's the common theme in this show. You have to start with a flashback. If you don't start with a flashback, then what you're doing, you've completely messed up, you know, the whole structure of the show. You need to start with a flashback. That seems to be rule number 1 of this show. And you know what? I like it. I think shows need to implement flashbacks more. But in Money Heist Korea, the flashbacks actually mean something. At the start, they tend to try and develop a character at the start of each episode. They sometimes have like the odd flashback in the middle of an episode, but they mainly focus the flashback at the start to try and develop characters and to give you an insight on their past. And I think that's great. I think that's really great. This flashback, we see that the professor was actually a professor. He was an economic professor, and he was consulted about the reformation of North and South Korea. But then we quickly just skip from the flashback straight into the present time. He's still trying to get away from the police. He's driving his car. The police kind of like corner him, and he's like crashed into this like vegetable, I don't know, like vegetable plantation, farm, field, call it what you want. There's a bunch of vegetables, and he just like crashes into them, and then he's got like tomatoes all over his windshield, and that is kind of blocking the police's vision, so they can't see who's in the car. So the tomatoes are basically coming to the professor's rescue, because Woojin is just like looking there. She's like, come out, surrender with your hands up. And the professor's just stuck in his car with tomatoes. And you see the tomatoes slowly coming down the windshield. So he knows that his identity is about to be revealed. So he quickly reverses, and he reverses into like this big bush. Or like a big, not a big bush, but it's more like a field with like grass that hasn't been cut. You know, it's like long grass. Well, I'm pretty sure that's what you call it, long grass. So he reverses into the long grass and then decides to light up a cigarette. He lights up a cigarette and then bolts off again. He doesn't surrender. The police, I think they try and get a couple of shots off, or maybe they don't. Maybe they just aim the gun at him. Then he like drives off, and he's got like a flammable substance in the car with him. He then drives up a ramp into this like river embankment while he's got the cigarette in his mouth, and he just goes, and the car just goes up in smoke, and that is it. You see, the police come, they're checking out the car, like, oh shit, the guy's crashed, the car's on fire, we need to check, we need to see if he's in there. But then you see the professor managing, so he sneaked out, he managed to escape down the bottom of the river, and he managed to get out to safety. So the professor wins again. That's a common theme in this show. The professor is good. No one outsmarts the professor. At least in the first 6 episodes. I haven't seen him beat yet, but, you know, there's part 2, so you never know. But he manages to escape. Then we cut inside to the Mint, and we see that Tokyo was about to be killed by the police officer that managed to sneak in. I believe his name is... What the hell was his name, actually? It was... That's going to annoy me. It was Chu-Woo. It was Chu... But the... He gets... But Mewhook calls him Chikora or something like that, or Katora. I don't know, but his name on Wikipedia is Chu-Woo, so I'm going to continue to call him Chu-Woo. So he was about to shoot Tokyo, but Berlin, who just previously escaped and choked out Rio, shoots Chu-Woo in the chest. Chu-Woo goes down, and then Berlin stands over him, and just for good measure, I guess, because he can, unloads another 3 or 4 bullets into him before Tokyo pulls him off and tells him to stop. Denver then checks, I believe, for a pulse, and we cut away from the scene. So it is presumed that this police officer is dead. It looks like he has been murdered. So there's been a murder inside the Mint, so to speak. Then Woojin devises a plan that she is going to go in to the Mint. Because they've heard that gunshot, they just assume that that officer is dead, and they want to try and get that information public, because the professor's team, they have like the public on their side. You know, they have the public are pretty much team professor at the moment. The fact that the professor's team has went in, they've not been violent, they've not harmed any hostages. That means that the public are kind of like on their side. Public opinion is pretty high of the professor's team. But with them presuming that they've just killed an officer, Woojin then devises a plan that she needs to get into the Mint, and she needs to record all human lives, and she needs to expose them and reveal that they've killed an officer. So after some negotiating, after some back and forth, they decide that they are going to let her in. And she has, unbeknown to them, she's got her... Now, they think it's only people that work in the Mint that she's coming in to check, but she's actually managed to get his name onto her list of hostages, and they put him down as like a new security guard. So he's not a security guard, he's not a bus driver either, like they were pretending. He's definitely not a school student. He is a security. He's like a police officer, but he's been put down as a security guard here. When the hostages hear that a police officer will be coming in to conduct interviews and to determine that everyone's still alive, they come up with this plan that they are going to get a message on a note. So they get this new printed banknote, and they write a message on it to explain who their captives are, what they're doing, and the fact that they are printing money. Anne is tasked with giving this. They believe that if Anne gets caught, nothing's really going to happen to Anne because she's a schoolgirl, and they don't think that the professor's team the robbers would like shoot Anne. And the fact that they haven't really harmed any of the hostages, it makes you think that it would be a bit uncharacteristic of them if they all of a sudden just turned around and shot a little girl. So they allow her to be the one that tries to give this banknote to Woojin. So Woojin comes in, she's got a list of names. She starts speaking with Berlin. Berlin doesn't have his mask on, he reveals his identity, and he says that now he is pretty much at risk, so he has nothing to lose, and if anyone goes against his rules, if anyone tries to do anything, then he's not like the rest of the team. He's going to just, kill them, essentially, because he's got nothing to lose. His identity has been revealed. So he is speaking with Woojin. Berlin is showing Woojin the hostages one by one. He shows her the director. He then shows her Anne. At this point, Anne tries to drop the banknote into Woojin's pocket. However, Nairobi, when she sees this, manages to pull Anne away. Berlin says this is too much for Anne and that Anne is going to be removed. However, did the banknote get in? Didn't look like it. Looked like the banknote was still in Anne's pocket, because when we see Anne get pulled away by Berlin, she still has the note, and Berlin rips it out her hand, and it reveals that they were trying to let Woojin and the authorities know that the team were indeed in the mint, trying to buy time so that they could print money. Woojin, though, she doesn't know this. She's still waiting. She's still waiting to interview everyone by one. Then she's like, you know what? I can't do this. Just bring everybody in here. Berlin says, no, we're going to do it my way. Woojin says, your way is taking too long. So Berlin agrees. He brings everybody in. Woojin starts going through names. And then she gets to the name of the presumed dead officer. She says that he's a security guard. So, of course, he is written down as a security guard. Berlin's like, how am I supposed to know this guy? I've never seen this guy in my life. And then Woojin's like, yeah, you're just saying that because he's dead. You killed him. That's what the gunshot was. Berlin says it was shooting practice, but she doesn't believe him. She asks everybody. She asks the director, have you seen this man? She asks the hostages, have you seen this man? Nobody says anything, but then eventually Anne cries out and she says, yeah, I seen this man. They killed this man. And then the director's like, I seen him too. The director is a really unlikable character on this, man. Honestly, I cannot believe the robbers here, the professor's team, whatever you want to call them, the heist team. I can't believe no one's actually Denver has got in like a physical confrontation with him. Even in this episode, Denver pretty much threatens to kick his ass if he doesn't leave his new girlfriend alone. But this guy is just like all the fucking time. He never listens. He always does something to endanger everyone else, and he never seems to get the brunt of the retaliation. Whatever he does, he doesn't really seem to face any consequences. It's always someone else. He's always trying to come up with a plan. It always backfires, and it always gets someone hurt. I'm surprised that they put up with his shit for this long, but he is, backing Anne here, saying that they've seen this man, and then Woojin goes into action, saying that you killed this man. This man was a this man was a security guard, and you shot him. And Berlin is kind of like, he's like, yeah, well, okay, maybe that's what happened. He's just letting Woojin speak. He's letting Woojin, tangle this web that she wants to spin. And then all of a sudden, he drags out the police officer. I believe I think it was Denver and Washington. They bring out the police officer who is, they're calling him a security guard, but he was the police officer. And then we have Berlin reveal to the public, reveal to the recording that in fact it was the what do you call them, the joint task force that sent in this man, and they sent him in to infiltrate and kill, and they were prepared to use deadly force in order to get in and try and rescue Anne, and they didn't care about the hostages. They were willing to risk the life of hostages, the safety of hostages, in order just to save Anne. And they then say that they haven't killed anyone, they've kept their end of the bargain, everyone is alive, they have not hurt anyone, they've not killed anyone, all they want is the money, and they don't want hostages to get hurt. So all of a sudden, this makes the task force look incredibly bad, because multiple times now, they have went against their word, and this time, they sent in a specialist to try rescue Anne, kill the leader, and potentially put the hostage's life at threat. So all of a sudden the public are freaking out, and the public, if they weren't on the side, or if they didn't have some sort of sympathy or empathy towards the professor's team, they certainly do now, because it looks like the Professor's team, even though they're trying to rob the men, even though they're trying to get money, they've kept their word. They haven't hurt anybody. They haven't killed anyone. And it's a task force that time and time again have, lied and have done stuff that could endanger the hostages of, and the family members, the loved ones of everyone outside the mint and everyone in the public. So all of a sudden the public there's a big uproar, and Berlin, he's all smug, he's all pleased with himself. Berlin then declares this proves his heist team only wanted money and never to harm hostages, which again further cements the public's anger towards the police and government. Woojin then just leaves the mint. She's in total defeat here. She has been defeated. She walked in with a game plan. She thought she was going to knock it out the park, but I think she got the knockout. But she was the one on the receiving end of it. She walks out the mint completely broken and probably not knowing where to go now, not knowing what direction to head in. So yeah, Woojin pretty much screwed here. Then we see Denver having sex with Mi-sung, the woman that was sleeping with the director, but now it looks like she has, declared her feelings for Denver. She wants to be with Denver. On the outside, we've got Mu-hook resigns, and we see a distressed Woojin go on a date with the Professor. She gets drunk. The Professor, meanwhile, realizes that, at the start, he was using Woojin as part of his big, elaborate plan, but he's actually fallen in love with her now. So the Professor has realized that he's not just keeping Woojin around so that he can keep an eye on the operation and that everything goes smoothly. He's actually got emotional feelings, and he's let his emotional feelings get the better of him, and he's pretty much in love. He's fallen in love with Woojin. Then Woojin, as they're about to go back to Professor's house, she reaches into her pocket to grab her phone, and she finds a bit of paper. She looks at the paper, and she then runs off. She has to cut the date short. So it's the same pocket that Anne tried to put the banknote in. So we'll see what happens. She put the banknote in, but she didn't actually get to put it in as she was pulled away. But maybe part of the banknote, maybe part of it ripped off. Could be. We see the banknote back in the mint, and you do see there's a corner of the note torn. So who knows what? I do know, but I'm not giving away spoilers, man. But who knows what Woojin is looking at on this banknote? So yeah, the secret message by Anne. We thought it didn't get delivered, but who knows? Maybe it did. Maybe it did get delivered. So the Professor, I guess, has to go back on his own. He's about to enter his cafe. No sex for him tonight. But then he's like, hello, sir. And he turns around, and it's Mu-hook. Mu-hook, who earlier suspected him. Mu-hook said to Woojin, ever since, when did you start dating this man? 2 months ago. So Mu-hook, at the start of this episode, was shown maybe signs that he was suspecting the Professor, not the Professor, obviously, well, the Professor, but obviously they don't know he's the Professor, but Mu-hook was suspecting him earlier in the show, and the fact that now he's turned up at his cafe, I think shows that he's not suspecting him anymore. He might just be 100% convinced that he has got something to do with this. The Professor turns around to look at him, and at this moment, I can only think the Professor's thinking, fuck, what have I done here? Should the Professor have maybe bailed out of his relationship with Woojin? Has he maybe, pushed it too much? You could argue that he should have maybe cooled off the relationship once he got the information he needed. But I don't know, maybe by getting too emotional, maybe by falling in love with Woojin, it could come back and bite him. But anyway, we end this episode, we end part 1 with Mu-hook outside the Professor's cafe, and we will find out what happened, guys, in episode 7. So yeah, good episode, good ending, massive cliffhanger with Mu-hook just turning up outside the cafe. And what is the Professor going to do? What questions is the Professor going to get asked? That will be revealed in the episode review for episode 7. So this episode, I liked it. It was good. We're going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I liked the episode. I do feel like it dragged a little bit. I felt like for when they were revealing the hostages that were alive, I do think that the pacing was a wee bit slow. That's not to say it was bad. I and then at the end, you know, it was all like happy and the date and stuff like that. I feel like for a mid-season finale, I mean, the episode was good, but for a mid-season finale, you kind of want a bit more, don't you? Even though they did leave us with that cliffhanger, you kind of want a bit more. So yeah, we're going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Good episode, but not the strongest of part 1 for sure. And yeah, that's something that we will bring to the channel. So probably will rank all episodes in part 1 in order, and we will come to some sort of conclusion to see which episode was the best, and we'll probably rank characters too, and of course there will be some theory vids on the channel as well. But I enjoyed this. So there you go, episode 6, that's your review. Moving into part 2, we're going to be just probably uploading a couple of episodes a day, because we are on, I haven't finished it, I haven't completed it yet, but we are very, very late into part 2, so I am looking forward to see how this whole thing plays out. And yeah, expect a lot of Money Heist Korea videos over the next couple of days, and we will have this wrapped up at least by the end of the week. Probably before that, but at least by the end of the week. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there's any sign of a season 2. But so far, I'm enjoying this show. It's really good, as are most K-dramas. So yeah, expect to see more K-dramas on this channel as well. Anyway, let's go do it, guys. I've been Son of Scotland 90. This is Fog Entertainment. I will catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.